They were in high school. When the nerd came up to the girl in high school, she was like, no, I don't want you. And then once she became a baby mama, he was a CEO, executive, and all that. And she's like, hey, you remember me? He said, no, I don't want you. I be feeling like, respectfully, y'all is the grown-up versions of that got hurt in high school while we was out with the drug dealers. Let me tell you something. We were victims then making horrible decisions with grown preying on us. Y'all gotta let that shit go.
She sat here and claimed victim. Oh, we were messing with drug dealers and older men and scammers and all this other shit. And the good guys are just supposed to let it go. Forgive us, let it go, even though we have children with these men, right? As young black men in high school, even it starts off really in middle school. In middle school, you're in 8th grade. The girls are talking to the freshmen, maybe even a sophomore at the high school. So when you're in middle school, they're talking to high schoolers. And when you're in high school, you become like a sophomore, junior, senior. They're talking to grown men outside of schools.
That's
so
facts.
Not only
hey, shout out to Scarface Mark. Shout out to Scarface Mark. Follow him on IG. I'm going to have his IG pinned to the top of the comment section of this video. You know, TikTok is leaving, and a lot of these content creators, I actually wish they could still produce content somehow, some way. Hopefully you'll still be producing content over here on YouTube. Let's keep listening.
Not only are you competing with guys your age, you're competing with grown men that got cars, money, jobs, and you're in high school broke. I had a girl I used to deal with back in high school. I'm like 16, 17, dealing with her.
Right.
And she ends up cheating on me with a grown man.
Mm.
So mind you, she used to call me broke when we got into it. Mind you, I'm 16, 17 years old. I'm supposed to be broke. But she wants to have the now. It's all about being patient, right?
Right.
A lot of these girls aren't patient. So she's dealing with a guy that he sells, you know what I'm saying, ends up getting arrested for it. Thank God. But he has a Porsche. He used to pick her up in a nice Porsche. Mind you, I'm 16, 17, playing 3 sports a year. No job, no nothing. I can't work. There's no way for me to make money because I don't have time. I'm a student.
Mm-hmm.
But they end up choosing those type of guys or getting pregnant by those guys or even getting over by those guys. And then later on, by the time we're 30, 40, they finally want to come with the guy that has a nice 9 to 5,
right?
Fears God and has great character. But they want people to forget those type of things. And that's a no-no. Why should a man that you passed up on forget that or even give you the time of day now when he put in the work to be who he was, but when he was nothing on the come up, you passed on him for the guy that had it at the now.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem. Y'all want the guy to have it now instead of later over time. This building shit takes time. Women in today's time, and then this is why a lot of black women aren't married, right? They don't want to build anymore.
Mm.
They want it now. They want you to have it now at 23, 24. They want you to have it at 19, 18, 16, 17. They want you to have it right now, not later, now. So that's why they go to the drug dealers and the scammers, and they want it now. And then when that guy goes to jail or he ends up, you know what I'm saying, getting popped or whatever, losing it all, that's when they get to crawling back to the guys that built it very slowly and kept it. But they want you to forget it, though. Let it go. No.
All right, so you guys heard the video for yourself. We have a very familiar face here. I've seen her on a few different platforms. I believe this is Anton Daniels' platform. Shout out to Anton Daniels, if I'm not mistaken. So she says that, you know, we have all these guys out here who look back at high school and they pursued these chicks who were dating scammers and drug dealers. Maybe he wasn't a scammer, but he was a straight bum. And they're upset because now she's a baby mama and she has his baby. And she wants him, but he doesn't want her because when he was down, she pretty much shit on him and chose up on him for the drug dealers, scammers, and bums. And now she frames herself as the victim. Her and other... No. Listen. She may be talking about other people here. Let me not make this specifically towards her. But she frames the women in this situation as victims and frames the men who look back to being rejected by these now newly single mothers as bitter. And she's saying it wasn't our fault because we were being manipulated. What are my thoughts? It was 100% your fault. If you were turning down good young men, because that's all a young man can be when he's in high school. That's all you can be. When you're in high school, you could just hope if you're dating, or even college, right? You could just hope that if you're in high school and college, that the men you're dealing with when you're younger are just good guys, that they have the type of character, because that's the only thing you really have built at that point that may point to you being successful in your future. You just hope that that young man has the character that you can feel safe around and that he's not toxic. But what happened? You went after the toxic man and couldn't recognize, and what you should have been able to recognize as a better option. And so a modern woman in this situation may look at this and go, well, I didn't know any better. I didn't know any better. Well, my question then would be, why didn't you know any better? Well, because I wasn't raised like that. Oh, you weren't raised like that. Then it's still your fault. And if it's not you directly, it's whoever was raising you. Yes, your family is to blame, and your children do suffer the consequences of the mistakes of their parents. Let me make this very simple here. There's a verse. I'm going to roughly quote this because I don't remember exactly where it's from, but you can go look it up. But it reads, train a child in the way that it should grow, and when he grows, he will not depart from it. Now, he can mean she. That's just the way the Bible works. Feminists don't like it. It is what it is. That scripture, which this can be applied to life in general, is if you raise up a child the right way from the beginning, then as the child grows older, in most cases, not the exception, in most cases, that child will not depart from the instruction it was given when they were younger. So what does this mean? That means if no one really cemented in your mind that, hey, in this family, when you go to school, you represent this family, you don't deal with bums. You don't deal with dudes who sell drugs. You don't deal with men who think toxicity and the music they listen to is something that should be applied to their real life. And they actually are out here doing this shit for real, in real life. We don't do that. If they don't sit there and go, hey, we don't dress like that here in this house, the daughters here in this household should embrace modesty to an extent. No, you're not supposed to look like a nun. That's not what I'm talking about. But there should have been a standard set that should have helped you when you got into the world out there, when you went to school, that helped you make better decisions when you went to college and high school, so that you don't look at the forbidden fruit and think, oh, that looks good. Let me bite into that. Oh, come on. Well, what about the men? So they're not supposed to. Yeah, the men too, but we're not talking about the men. The men too, but we're not talking about the men. Yes, men have expectations, and same thing goes with my main point here. There are a lot of young people who suffer due to the lack of seriousness, lack of intentionality of their parents. I use the biblical reference just because there's so many lessons like that apply to just real life, like practical knowledge in real life. They can be loosely applied. Another way I could put this is if your parents didn't explain to you the gravity of getting involved with the wrong type of person and being in a toxic situation with some scammers and drug dealers, they failed you. Now, for a small percentage of people, and this is where you want to listen to this because there might be some guilt relieved from you here, and don't be so quick to take that out. But there is a small percentage of people who did everything they can, but their kid just chose wrong. That's not the majority. Now, most people are going to claim that and be like, I gave him everything. No husband in sight. Switching out men left and right. And no, this doesn't mean that a single mother or single father can't sometimes, right, exception, raise up somebody who's making good decisions later on in life, especially a young woman, but it's usually not the case. It's usually not the case. But there are a small percentage of young people who just decide, F everything I was taught when I was younger. I'm going to rebel 100% to the degree that I absolutely destroy my life. Not life lessons and I come back and prodigal son story, hey, you were right, mom and dad. No. They're effed up. Small percentage. So if you're looking at this and going, it wasn't my fault, we were manipulated by those drug dealers. They got into our ear and whispered sweet lies. And so we were dropping the draws in college. Well, my response would be, your parents should have told you that those men were out there and they were going to whisper sweet nothings in your ear. Why didn't they do that? I don't know why they didn't. That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate because a lot of parents, and especially fatherless households, just love on their kids, want to remove pressure, consequence, get out there, just have fun, enjoy yourself. And then they go out there, enjoy themselves, but enjoy themselves a little bit too much and have to suffer for those decisions. And the good guys, or specifically, I'd rather term this as the guys who women later on see as a good investment for a long-term relationship, not just fun. The good guys who said, hey, you know what? I don't mind looking like a square. In fact, I want to be the biggest square there possibly could be. Because if that means that I'm successful in the long run, if that means that, hey, she may not give me the cheeks right now, but later on, I will be able to be intentional about the women I pick, and those chicks will always be here. I don't mind being a square. I don't mind being lame. Shit, I might lean into that. If that means I stay out of jail, avoid a whole bunch of STDs, baby mama drama, I'm trying to be as lame as possible, as lame as I possibly can be. In fact, not only that, I want to surround myself with lames. If that's what that means, might need a lame coach. And no, they should not feel bad for you or your bloodline that decided not to explain to you the gravity of your future life's decisions. Taking this back to like a biblical concept, just because I think there's so many gems, man. If you read, there's probably gems in all types of different spiritual books, right? I was raised up reading the Bible. There's this concept of like suffering because of the sins of the people who came before you. It's not always this like magical, blah, blah. No. Sometimes it just means that, hey, you're suffering right now because the people before you didn't take your life that seriously. You know, why are you so serious? Man, over here on the coffee pod, you guys are always so serious. Where's the fun? Let's read a few of these comments. Top comment here says, she explained the beat it chick meme. Here's somebody else who says they're allergic to being accountable. Another person here added, normalize calling women losers. This commenter says, normalize calling women losers. Somebody else here added, pause. She said they made the wrong decisions as kids, so I'm supposed to knowingly make the wrong decision as an adult. Here's somebody else who says they knew exactly what they were doing. Maybe they did, maybe they did not. You know, somebody else who says they were kids. So this chick's actually over here agreeing, like, what do you mean we knew what we were doing? We were kids. Forgive us. Well, you know who wasn't a kid was the person that raised you. You guys would know something very sobering statistic that you should know. Do you know that the number one indicator of socioeconomic success, like someone who's going to climb up within the socioeconomic ladder, how successful you're going to be, comes down to your zip code? I was listening to and this it's not what you think, right? Hear me here, follow me. I was listening to a podcast that touched on this a little bit, and they were particularly talking about young black men. And they were saying that the indicators when it comes to how successful a young black boy will be when he grows up isn't necessarily just a father in the home. That plays a big role. But in addition, when they did the research to find out what exactly equal to these young boys being successful when they got older, it was the fact that there were other black men who were successful around them, other influences around them. This came full circle and made sense to me because I had a lot of questions about that, right? So I was like, what does this mean? I had a lot of questions about that. And then I was listening to an Alex Hermosi video where he really made the whole thing make sense. And he pretty much says that that study didn't necessarily prove that it's because of the people around you and lack of opportunity that prevents you from being better. But it's rather that the people around you set the standard of what you deem as an acceptable life. Are you following me here? It's the people around you who set the standard for that. And he said something in his video along the lines of this: we don't become the people we look up to, rather we become the people we compare ourselves to, right? And so this can explain the phenomena of like, yes, you can see a bunch of rappers, yes, you can see a bunch of entrepreneurs and look up to them. But at the end of the day, if the people you spend the most time with on a day-to-day basis, the people who you compare yourself to, have a lower standard that may not be exceptional, then you always compare yourself to those people in most cases. And so this is how I decided to look at this, right? From an empowered point of view as a new father. I decided to look at this as like, okay, so what I would have to do, along with everything else we know about life, the lessons we want to pass on to our children, is to change the people who my children compare themselves to. And it wasn't that the comparison was what made them go out and do better, but it was more that highly successful individuals, high achieving individuals, teach to their children to have a greater expectation for themselves. If you wake up in the morning and think, all I have to do today is go to work and make it back home. Well, every time you do that, you're going to be like, all right, I made another day. All right, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. The greatest gift that higher achievers and successful people give to their children is they wake up every day and think, how can I make $1,000 today and tomorrow? How can I make 6 figures? How can I be a millionaire? They change the expectation of what is acceptable in that child's mind and then create a stronger hunger. And it's that hunger that makes the difference. Let's see what else we got here. Just a gem. Somebody else here says, we were victims then. So they're laughing at her there. Somebody else here added, they want a finished product, bro. Got another comment here that says, back then they didn't want me. Now I'm hot. They all on me. Proverbs, Mike Jones. Somebody else here says, let it go. He's another person who says, the thank God sent me. Yo, I was weak.